In the late 1970s, Philippine cinema was filled with war heroes, rebel fighters, vigilantes, and folk legends brought to life on screen. But among all these cinematic warriors, one name rose above the rest, a man wrapped in mystery, whispered about in military camps and guerrilla hideouts alike. Kumander Ulupong. Not a soldier, not a criminal, not even a man chasing revenge. He was something else. A symbol, a shadow, a force. A figure shaped by the chaos of the time. A time when conflict was not just fought in jungles or villages, but inside the hearts of people struggling with fear, corruption, and survival. The 1978 action masterpiece Kumander Ulupong captures this moment in history with a rare intensity, blending political drama, jungle warfare, personal tragedy, and the explosive style of Filipino action cinema. This is not just a movie. It is a legend carved into film. And this is the full cinematic breakdown, Part 1. From the opening drums of war to the rise of the man who would become Ulapong. Chapter 1. The Land of Smoke and Gunfire. The film opens in a remote province deep in the Philippines, a land untouched by cities, but shaped by decades of conflict. Fog coils around the mountains like a living creature. The sun hides behind thick jungle canopies, and the air vibrates with distant gunshots. Villagers move cautiously, farmers keep their heads down, children play in silence, too young to understand, yet too old to be unafraid. In this world, peace is a rumor. The movie wastes no time establishing its harsh environment. Military checkpoints where young soldiers grip their rifles with nervous fingers, guerrilla camps moving through the trees like ghosts, warlords carving territories, corrupt politicians feeding every side of the conflict. This is the Philippines at the height of turmoil, a land where heroes and villains are often the same men wearing different uniforms. And somewhere within this chaos, a nameless fighter is about to rise. Chapter 2. The Man with No Face. Before we hear his name, we see his shadow. A lone figure walking through the jungle at dawn, moving silently despite the weight of ammunition on his back. The camera never shows his full face, only glimpses. A scar running down the jaw, a hardened gaze, hands calloused from weapons and survival. A soldier's posture, but a rebel's aura. Then, in the movie's first major set piece, he ambushes a convoy of armed men. Not out of hatred, not out of ideology, but out of necessity. In a flurry of guerrilla camouflage, rapid-fire bursts, curved jungle knives, explosive traps hidden in foliage, the convoy is wiped out. He doesn't steal anything. He claims nothing. He simply melts back into the forest like a snake into grass. The survivors whisper his name, Ulapong, the deadly viper of the jungle. A name spoken with fear, admiration, and disbelief. Some believe he is a myth. Some believe he is a traitor. Others believe he is a spirit sent by the mountains, but no one knows the truth. Not yet. Chapter 3. A Village on the Edge. We shift to Barangay San Gregorio, a vulnerable village caught between two sides. The military, claiming to protect them, the rebels, claiming to fight for them. Both demand loyalty, both demand resources, both threaten violence if crossed. In this fragile balance, we meet the emotional core of the film. Maria, a teacher in her late 20s, brave, determined, holding the village together with nothing but courage and compassion. Lolo Dencio, an elderly farmer who remembers the land before the wars. His wisdom becomes a narrator for the village's suffering. Thomas, a young man torn between joining the rebels or fleeing the province altogether. Through their eyes, we understand the real victims of war, the innocent people forced to survive between blades. But their fate changes when a stranger appears on the outskirts of their village. a wounded man collapsing from blood loss, and Maria recognizes the symbol carved on the handle of his blade, the mark of Ulapong. Chapter 4. The face behind the legend. For the first time, the film allows us to see him clearly. His name? Daniel Danilo Ramirez. Former soldier, special scout, expert tracker, a man erased from military records after refusing to follow corrupt orders. Years ago, a general forced him to burn down a rural village suspected of sheltering rebels. But Daniel refused. For this, he was branded a deserter, hunted by his own comrades, and forced into the wilderness. The trauma broke him. The injustice hardened him. The jungle reshaped him. This is where Ulapong was born, not as a hero, not as a villain, but a man who answers to no one. A man guided only by survival and his own quiet code of justice. Now, injured and desperate, he hides in Maria's home, and fate binds the two together in ways neither expected. Chapter 5. Fire on the hillside. Tension erupts when an armed rebel faction arrives in the village, demanding food and recruits. Their leader, Capitan Mendez, is brutal and unpredictable. He senses something in the air, an unseen presence, the villagers too nervous, Maria too protective. He suspects they are hiding someone. The rebels searched homes, they interrogated families, and they pulled Thomas from his hut, accusing him of helping the military. But before they harm anyone, a single bullet whizzes down from the tree line. Then another. Then chaos. Mendez's men scramble, firing wildly into the jungle, but the shots come from everywhere, precise, calculated, deadly. It is Ulapong. The villagers watch something unbelievable. One man holding off an entire squad. He moves like a spirit, appearing and vanishing, using the landscape with mastery earned from years of surviving both government forces and rebel hunters. But the attack reveals his location. The rebels swear revenge, and now the military will also be coming looking. The village becomes the center of the storm. Chapter 6. The beginning of his war. That night, as fire burns on the edge of the hills, Daniel reveals fragments of his past to Maria and Lolo Dencio. The betrayal by his commanding officer, the massacre he refused to participate in, the soldiers who hunted him, the rebels who tried to recruit him, the reason he fights alone. He is not fighting for a side, he is fighting against injustice, wherever it emerges. He is not a rebel, he is not a soldier. He is something more dangerous. A man who answers to no one. A man guided only by survival and his own quiet code of justice. Now, injured and desperate, he hides in Maria's home, and fate binds the two together in ways neither expected. Chapter 7. Preparing for the storm. The villagers know the rebels will return, and the military will follow, both believing Ulapong is hiding here. Daniel teaches villagers how to set up defensive traps, move silently in the dark, signal danger with bird calls, hide supplies underground, protect the elderly and children. For the first time, he is not just surviving, he is leading. Meanwhile, Maria challenges him. You cannot live in the shadows forever. If you keep fighting alone, you will die alone. Her words pierce deeper than any bullet. But Daniel says nothing. His silence becomes the film's loudest answer. Chapter 8. The two armies approaching. The final scenes of Part 1 build unbearable tension. On the northern ridge, Capitan Mendez and his rebels march with torches, machetes, and rifles. From the southern river, a military battalion advances under the corrupt leadership of Colonel Garrido, the very man who once ordered Daniel to burn that innocent village. Two forces, one destination, one target. And in the middle, a small village, a terrified people, and one lone warrior preparing for the fight of his life. Daniel climbs to the highest point overlooking the valley. The wind howls, thunder rolls in the distance. His silhouette stands tall against the night sky, and he whispers a line that echoes through the entire film. If I must be the serpent of this land, then tonight I strike. Cut to black. The sky over Barangay San Gregorio has never been so dark. Lightning carves brief shapes into the mountains. The wind sweeps the smell of smoke across the valley. Every villager feels the weight of something enormous approaching. Not just footsteps, not just gunfire, but the collision of two forces driven by greed, ego, and blood. From the north, Capitan Mendez's rebels advance with torches burning like floating eyes in the forest. From the south, Colonel Garrido's soldiers march under strict formation, boots smashing the mud in unison. And in the middle of this tightening vice stands Daniel Ramirez, the man they call Ulupong. But tonight he is not a ghost, not a rumor, not a myth. Tonight, he becomes the front line. Chapter 10. The Warning Shot. Before the first army reaches the village, Daniel steps forward from the shadows. He fires a single shot into the night sky. The sound echoes through the valley like a thunderous declaration. The rebels pause. The soldiers freeze. Every man in both armies recognizes the meaning of that shot. Ulupong is here, and he is not running. For Colonel Garrido, this moment is personal. Daniel's defiance all those years ago, refusing the burning of innocent villagers, fractured Garrido's pride. He has hunted Daniel not because he is a criminal, but because Garrido cannot tolerate a soldier who exposed his corruption. For Capitan Mendez, this is about vengeance. Ulupong humiliated him during the ambush in the hills. A rebel commander cannot afford humiliation. Tonight, he wants to reclaim his authority through blood. Both men prepare to advance. Both men believe they will crush Daniel easily. Neither of them understands the terrain. Neither of them understands the villagers' preparations. Neither of them understands what kind of warrior Daniel has become. Chapter 11. The Traps of the Serpent. The battle does not begin with bullets. It begins with silence. As Garrido's men cross a seemingly empty field, the ground suddenly collapses beneath them. Pits lined with bamboo spikes hidden under leaves swallow entire squads. The rebels on the North Trail walk through trees marked with tiny carvings, symbols left by Daniel. Mendez ignores them, believing they are superstitions. Moments later, vines snap. Logs swing down from the canopy, crushing several rebels instantly. Daniel has turned the entire valley into a battlefield that only he understands. Every step the armies take becomes a gamble. Some traps wound, some disarm, some confuse, forcing soldiers to retreat into the paths of other traps. It is not war. It is chess, played by a master. In the village, Maria, Thomas, and the elders hide inside the fortified huts Daniel helped reinforce. Children remain underground in tunnels, clutching each other's hands. The villagers do not panic. They trust him. And that trust becomes the unseen force guiding the night. Chapter 12. Clash on the Eastern Ridge. The rebels are the first to break through the perimeter. Mendez leads a team up the Eastern Ridge believing he can flank Daniel. He finds Daniel waiting. Not hidden, not ambushing,
standing in the open. Mendez smirks. You think you can fight a whole army alone? Daniel doesn't answer. He drops his rifle, takes out the jungle blade, and gestures for Mendez to come. The forest holds its breath. Mendez charges, machete raised. Rebels open fire. Daniel moves like a serpent, striking, fast, low, deadly. Gunshots flare, blades clash, branches snap under heavy combat. Daniel outmaneuvers every strike with experience forged in years of survival. He uses trees as shields, mud as camouflage, roots as tripwires. But the rebels overwhelm him through sheer numbers. A bullet grazes his shoulder. Another cuts across his leg. For a moment, he stumbles. Mendez laughs. Too soon. Daniel grabs a fist of dirt and flings it into Mendez's eyes. Blinded, Mendez screams. Daniel knocks him down, disarming him in a single motion. But before delivering the finishing blow, more rebels close in. Daniel is forced to retreat deeper into the forest, vanishing into the darkness. For the first time, Mendez feels fear. Not of death, but of a man he cannot predict.